Welcome to the Department of Homeland Security, the officially unofficial podcast for the boys on Amazon Prime. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about season 2, episode 6, The Bloody Doors Off. I think I know what this is about. It's probably one of those double entendre, dual meaning kind of titles, because they literally blow some doors off this episode. But also,
They do.
they're trying to blow the doors off this plot, right? This Vought plot. And they're not getting too much of a point here. You know, the lamplighter clues them in a little bit, but still got a long way to go to uncover this thing.
Yeah, no. Lots of doors got blown off. I was trying to think of like what exactly this meant because blowing the doors off something usually refers to like being beat in a race. I always think of that like, oh, I blew the doors off somebody. Blowing the lid off something's more of a revelation of plot,
Right?
but also
what is
like
a door
there's
if
really
not just a vertical lid, horizontal lid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's doors got blown off. Like, doors got ripped off and crushed by, what's her name, Cindy? But I otherwise, yeah, I don't know. But a lot of these titles have been kind of loosey-goosey, mystifying.
Yeah, every title feels like it's being written by Butcher, doesn't it?
It does a little bit. It does.
But
also, I caught him using a piece of like Australian slang. When he says have a gecko, I thought that was going to be some kind of Cockney rhyming slang that it's like, you roll that through a couple different translations and it rhymes something, eventually rhymes with hook, like Barney, you're in Barney,
Sure.
Barney Rubble, trouble. But it turns out, I guess it's like an Australian thing for like geckos having those weird eyes and like having like a real intense look at something is having a gecko. So what the fuck, Butcher?
Yeah. Pick a nationality. Are you New Zealander? Are you British? Are you Australian? What are you?
Pick a lane, man. I'm having a hard time keeping up what type of English speaking white dude you are.
What do you
think of this episode?
For the CIA. I mean, it's
right. Is he even FBI? My ass is he's not even American. What do you think of this episode?
I love this episode. I thought it was great. I'm intensely curious with how they're going to deal with the Homelander situation that is brewing, and this just like kicks it into a whole nother level, like with Stormfront's involvement with him. God, it's not going to go good places from here.
And I like how, last episode they rounded out Mother's Milk's character the last two episodes. And this episode, we finally got some real solid development for Frenchie. Like, what is making him tick? Why is he so fucking crazy? Why is he involved with drugs? And those answers I found were mostly satisfying.
Yeah,
I even liked
that question that we've had for the last couple episodes has been answered.
Yep. I thought there was some interesting stuff about what Vought's up to at their little research facility. Had nothing to do with some kind of super secret racist organization of wealthy and elites meeting in the redwoods of California. So swinging a whiff on that. But what they did come up with, like, there was some really interesting and disgusting and amazing weird misfire superpowers going on in that facility, which was a lot of fun. And I mean, even seeing stuff like Starlight and Butcher come up with a relationship that's not, dependent on like Huey, it feels like slowly we're morphing into an actual team rather than just a bunch of random cool people who some of us used to know and some of us know. Like it feels like it's becoming more of an integrated group, and I like that.
And we've talked about, how we think there's going to be this division between like previous Seven working with the boys and Homelander's new version of the Seven and how they might clash. It seems like they're building toward that with, Maeve and A-Train and the Deep all kind of coming together. Will Starlight be able to bring them over effectively to the boys? I have no idea, but we'll see. The other thing that you did call, maybe, okay, we're not up on everything, but you did kind of call that they would find the plane wreckage, right, from the Homelander incident where he lasered that plane in half and killed those people, and they would use this to somehow further the plot that Maeve has to take him down.
Well, I felt like that was a little bit swing and a miss because, like, I think what they found is as a GoPro from someone who was filming the jetliner that went down to him and Maeve were on, not
Yeah.
the one that he lasered that had the mayor or whatever. But it's
Oh, is
pretty
that what
much
you were saying? I thought you meant the jet.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the jet that they lasered and left all those people to die in.
No. The one that and that was more of like Homelander could have probably saved it. He just chose not to because it would be more effective to blame it on Super Terror and get, So,
Yeah.
but it's still, yeah, the Deep came up with some plane wreckage. I'll take partial credit for that.
Sure. I think it's deserved.
Yeah, and I did afterwards go back. I'm like, was I inventing that? But like, no, Madeline came to him and said something about the Deep finding some wreckage. So like that all checked out. But yeah, no, and I also think from a psychological standpoint, it's very interesting that Stormfront is essentially the real version of what Madeline was just playing at. Like Stormlander's got this mommy Oedipus complex about mother figures, and she is revealed quite literally to be his mother.
Mhm.
I mean, okay, quite
Not literally.
metaphorically,
Yeah.
literally. His mother. She's the wife of the man who created and then it's like all this kind of weird incestual family dynamics. It seems like it, for whatever reason, really fascinates Homelander in a sexual way. That it's
Yeah.
like mother, sister, wife, kind of all. Oh, it's really getting his I don't know, his milk glands, his milk salivary glands flowing.
Great. Sure. Yeah. It
Yeah.
seems like so they've managed to somehow bring me around to the side of the Shining Light organization. Like if you've got a super powered corporation that's trying to cause a race war here and take you out, what's your recourse? It's to create
Yeah.
your own fucking soups and fight them, right? Like and their methods may not be the best, but they've got to do what they got to do. Um
Yeah, it's I think we're struggling with a lot of that right now in present day America. Is like, it's very hard to decide morally and ethically where you stand on something until you decide like what are the out of all the multiple causes, what are they fighting for?
mhm,
And then where do you stand on the by any means necessary rhetoric? Like if
sure.
there is evil to be oppressed, is there a limit to which you will not stoop to suppress that evil? And your answers to those two questions tell a lot about where you're going to stand on different issues. And you're right. Like, that's it's like the other show, like Raised by Wolves, that Ridley Scott is also dealing with, like, is child soldiers cool if you're standing in the way of like, and not, who knows? You pray never to be put in those type of situations, but
Yeah, and it kind of depends
it,
on how powerful the other side is as well. Like you
yeah,
might need
and
to
what they're
resort to
trying.
extreme measures to deal with somebody who's extremely powerful.
Yes. So, but I think all this stuff is very fascinating, and it's wild that we only have two more episodes left. Like it
Yeah.
feels like there's so much ground left to cover. But if you look back, we've covered a lot of ground too. So
Yeah, we sure have. And they're really pointing this in an interesting direction. I'm super excited for the next two. All right, let's get into the recap. We start off with a flashback. 8 years ago, Frenchie is hanging out with Sherry, warming up for a bank robbery with a conversation about Golden Girls. And also, I don't know his other friend's name, but he's there as well.
I don't either. Yeah, some dude who's going to DOA before he's relevant to the plot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess
I mean,
his DOA is relevant to the plot. Yeah.
absolutely.
But I love how they introduced the Golden Girls, which is weirdly culturally relevant. Like people have rediscovered the Golden Girls as a comfort food of television. It's like something their grandmas like to watch, their moms like to watch.
Mhm.
But I've heard from multiple people I respect that show fucking holds up and is having a renaissance now on streaming. And the way they brought it back at the end of the episode after I'd kind of forgotten the conversation is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I love this show. Yeah.
And Golden Girls has a bit of a reputation, as far as I'm aware, because I haven't seen much, if any, of the Golden Girls. For at least one of the characters has like a semi-foul, foul for network television kind of mouth,
Yeah.
take no shit from anybody kind of vibe to her.
Right.
I don't know which one it is. but in the context of The Boys, which is this over the top sort of in your face, gory and violent thing, I feel like there's some commonality there, like just the slightest bit of it.
Yeah, it's subversive. The fact that you had these old
Yeah,
women. I think you're I can't really tell if you're talking about Blanche,
I don't know their
or
names.
or Dorothy's mom. Because the
Yeah, I think
Estelle,
it's
I
the
think,
oldest
was
one.
the old one. She's like had the really sharp acid tongue,
Yeah,
but Blanche was just like a golden girl hoe, man. She was like all like
right.
that. This was very subversive. The idea that your grandparents are like having an active sex life and courting men like Dick Van Dyke and whatnot. Like, I remember that was one of the ones, I think, the dude she dated. Yeah, so like golden girls were the boys of the time.
Sure, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, no problem. Betty White. Also, that's the other thing. Betty White played super Snow White and innocent in that show. She's real life pretty blue.
Yeah, she also
Watch Lake
blew up a
Placid.
whale, ran a boat right through a whale in that show.
Damn, did not
Check it
know
out.
that fact. But if you want to see her square off against giant alligators, check out Lake Placid. She's delightful.
Right. Okay, so Frenchie removes. We're back in modern day. Frenchie removes Annie's chip with a rotary tool. Has a little trouble getting through her skin, which this is just another one of those generic superhero traits, right? The super resistance, and this is something that I always wonder about in superhero stories. Like, if you've got somebody who can jump 100 feet into the air, the muscles in their legs have to be structured that they can support that kind of movement and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
force, and the
Mm-hmm.
bones in their body need to be denser and stronger, and it seems like they're leaning into that with the boys.
Yeah, like it's that's always like a Superman trope, you know.
Uh-huh.
Superman's dying because he got exposed to kryptonite, and this he's getting better when the doctors try to stick him with the needle, and the needle just kind of
Yeah, it
oh
bends.
yeah, he's got his invulnerability. If Superman gets colorectal cancer, what do they got to do? They got to go in there with like Kryptonian scalpels
Oh yeah,
to resection his bowel.
absolutely.
Superman with the colostomy bag. Is that what we're? No, I thought it was like nice. He's got this like diamond wheel cutter, and he's going at it just to get just this tiniest little bit of incision.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if they could have even chipped like Homelander or Translucent, right? Like, how do you chip Translucent without it coming back out? Like, have him swallow something, but then it just works its way through him.
That's a
Uh,
damn fine question. How did they? They must have chipped Homelander at some point.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
I guess you could chip them before they become soups, right?
I guess that's yeah. Before while they're still a baby, you put the chip in at that point.
Yeah.
Um, or I wonder if like you could also instill some kind of port when they're a child, so you can like if you can access it and renew it if you need to. But
Uh-huh.
now that would be interesting. And is the when I was watching this, I felt like the show, and sometimes the show does this. It doesn't give a moment as much weight as I thought, and then it turns out that like there wasn't that much weight behind it. But it feels like her taking her tracking chip out is her going rogue.
Yeah.
Like she can't just go back to the seven at this point, right?
I don't think so.
Hey, you we kind of we half of us all at least medium or more suspect you of playing fast and loose with this Compound V revelation, and now you've taken your tracking chip out. We just want to talk, Starlight. I think this is kind of like her joining the boys, but it didn't feel like that
Yeah.
big of a moment for some reason. So I don't know whether they're going to explain this away at some point, or she's going to keep the tracker in her pocket and just kind of like keep track. Plus the fact that they did this in their underground layer, they
Mhm.
removed a tracking chip in the location of their hideout. That seems kind of crazy too, but
Yeah, they
the
maybe needed
boys.
just like a quick conversation between like the argument that Huey and uh Butcher are going to have over Annie being part of this in the first place. Have it before they de-chip her. Um and that way it tells us like, okay, it makes it more of a moment, right? When they actually decide to do it.
No, I agree. I agree. But I think that boys sometimes plays fast and loose with the little details.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not sure if we're supposed to, if I'm understanding this correctly, or if this is actually going to be something to where, she can still slip back in and out of the seven at will.
All right, Homelander and Stormfront stop someone from committing a crime. Uh Unfortunately, instead of taking him to the police, they decide to murder him and then get it on essentially in his remains. This relationship has escalated quickly. Like Stormfront last episode, they do the laser my tits and they bang and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
man, they've just gone straight to this relationship is just entirely based on how fucked up these characters are. And yeah, I thought the murder bang was like a third date kind of thing. Like,
yeah, no, they're fucking. I mean, it's like she's giving like an over the costume handy when he crushes the dude's face, and then they're just fucking over his corpse, and then they're making out, and they're like bits of his brain matter and blood are running down their faces, and it's it felt vampiric. It felt like something that goes on in like a Bram Stoker type of. I mean, it paints them as like because like vampires, attractive, glamorous monsters. It does paint them both as monstrous in this. But I do like how they subvert kind of like one of my favorite things about Superman is like when he just shows up to stop petty crime. Like there's that scene in the first Richard Donner Superman where like the guys are robbing a boat and he just kind of goes there and is kind of fucking with them because what can they do? Like a dude hits him with a crowbar and it bends over his head and is like hurting and it's like vibrating and Superman's like bad vibrations, friend, and he just got to lift him off the boat and drop him off the police station. Like there's like it's like the finger of God coming down and doing something to you, and it's like very wholesome and fun because Superman would never hurt these guys, and this Superman crushes a dude's skull. Why he's getting a handy. What a guy.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Before we go off the scene, though, someone mentioned to us last week, I believe, or maybe it was during our live watch on Sci-Fi Sundays. Every Sunday on Twitch.tv, we culminate with watching the this week's episode of The Boys. They asked us if we knew that like Stormfront was gender bent from the comics. Apparently, she's a dude in the comics.
Huh? No, I didn't know that.
And now that they are fucking, I'm really wondering if that plot was in the comics, and it kind of goes in line with our feedback from last week about the boys pulling their punches. Like, surely they are not so squeamish that they can't have two super dudes fucking. Because like
so.
I will say that like that's one that seems like a bright, like even HBO has trouble showing male phallus, let alone one erect. But I don't know, like a couple years ago on American Gods, they had a pretty graphic male on male sex scene between a genie and a cab driver of all people. I'm just like, I don't know.
Genie on male. That wasn't male on male.
It's true. It's a mythical being with a very masculine presentation,
right?
Fucking a human dude driving a cab. But I do wonder, like, like if they shifted Stormfront to be a woman just so they could avoid two super dudes pile driving each other. I'm going to give a little bit more weight to that last week's email about like, is this show just kind of like, getting its edgy stuff on, but then like, oh god, dudes having sex, can't do that.
I don't know.
Gonna have to check it out. Don't know, don't tell me, don't want any spoilers just yet. So
all right, Butcher and Kimiko watch Homelander and Stormfront interact on TV and realize that they're banging. The other boys show up with Annie and give her a tour of the hideout. She gets a hug from Kimiko and she gets the side eye from Butcher. Annie tells the boys that Stan Edgar is close to a breakthrough at the Sage Grove Psychiatric Facility in Pennsylvania. And Butcher invites Annie to go along, but really only as their cover and bait for any supers who might show up to try and stop them.
Right. If you got 5 people running away from a scene and one of them is your $1 billion asset that just removed their tracking device. I guess that is the show kind of telling us that she is going to be persona non grata as soon as they find this out.
Yeah, I think so.
That they'll should just be assumed enemy on site. Yeah, I do love that Butcher and Kimiko scene where they're watching them flirt on camera and be like, they're fucking.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So the Deep goes to Maeve's trailer to tell her that they found some wreckage from the plane, the one that Homeland lasered last season. She tells him not to say a word to anyone if he wants back in the 7. And I absolutely love the way that he sneaks into this trailer. I don't know if you noticed it, but the way he walks in with this big old step, like he's being I don't know, stealthy. It's ridiculous. The Deep is such an idiot.
It also pairs like when because she's like, no one saw you, right? And he's like, no one knows I'm here and what I'm here for. And then the first thing out of his word that has mouth of A-Train is like, what are you here for? Oh, I just here seeing my nobody in particular. Like he
Yeah.
is just above Homer Simpson level stupidity.
Mhm.
I do love it. I also love him like talking about like, I've been putting a word out to my contacts, and it turns out it's like a rowdy school of halibut.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, it's insanely useful. Think about like how crazy useful a guy like Aquaman would be to like we would solve that down Malaysian airliner in like 16 minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
You just go out there and it'd be like I don't know, it'd be like watching a film noir detective going to a seedy bar, just going up to a reef like, hey, what's the scuttlebutt? Have you heard anything about a jetliner going down? Any oil slicks out there? Like I kind of want to see them visualize something like this.
Hmm.
Him working his contacts and like what is a rowdy like what's a rowdy school of halibut get up to that classifies as rowdy? I would love to see that.
I'm picturing like a Don Knotts, uh, what is it, Mr. Limpet? Is that the name of the fish that he
Yeah.
turns into?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is it a Disney movie? I don't even fucking remember.
Yeah, it's called the freaking fucking limpet is what they call it.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure.
Don Knotts known for his just foul mouth.
I do love how quickly they're setting up and answering these mysteries, because I was thinking like, oh man, I wonder how long they're going to keep us on the hook for what the hell is on this GoPro looking thing. Not just like another 20 30 minutes. It's
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah. Like the mystery of the show is enduring, that they don't have to keep inventing these little mysteries to keep us enticed.
Yeah, and them revealing like what their plan is this episode doesn't say anything about whether or not it's gonna work, and like I don't have high
Right.
hopes for it, right? If Homelander wants to, he'll just laser you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a dangerous game, but they know that. The other thing that's hilarious in this scene is this Pride bar, Brave Maeve Pride bar, which, oh god, the cynical way
You
they're
can't
just
be
using
proud.
her sexuality.
You can't be proud on an empty stomach.
God.
It's pretty, yeah. It's pretty bad.
She's vaping too. I don't know if they're trying to do anything with that, but Maeve's a vapor.
Yeah, just it is wild to see in like a superhero vaping.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I don't know why, but it is a statement.
Yeah. All right. Ashley shows A-Train a demo of his very own retirement anthem. He gets the stink eye from Stormfront, and then the Deep shows up and conveys his condolences to A-Train over getting kicked out of the Seven, and offers him a fresca, which I guess is now just code for, hey, I want to talk to you about the cult I'm in.
It's got to have some kind of actual, like on the border of Compound V. Like I wouldn't be surprised if these are two joint like parallel operations to like, if you got a disaffected superhero that might like talk a shit or run amok, you co-opt them with this mind control organization and slip them Fresca that might nullify their power somehow. And it doesn't seem like it did that to the Deep, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, bro, you got ass fucked with a soup can. That's fucking the Deep, man. He's full of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, he entices him with the help from a mysterious stranger, which is something that A-Train is interested in, because there's no way he actually believes that this shit's going to be long-term good for him. He just doesn't want to debase himself in front of fucking fish guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, A-Train is proud,
Yeah.
and he's in a slump at the moment, and he doesn't want to admit it, but that's kind of the way it's going to shake out.
And he might be thinking there might be some still prime money earning years if you're a recent retired guy, and if you play that right, and Nike and Under Armour are talking to you. But on the other hand, he doesn't know that they're about ready to jack his whole shtick, and it's really hard to make money as A-Train if someone else is the new better A-Train.
You going to be B-Train? I don't think so.
No one wants to take the B-Train when the
No.
A-Train's sitting right there. You don't want the B-Train shoes. F-Train? What the fuck?
So the boys arrive at Sage Grove, and they decide to leave Starlight outside, while Frenchie and Kamiko go inside, and MM as well.
Yeah. Not much here. Like there's they're trying to de-weird the situation between Frenchie and Kimiko, and I actually,
Yeah,
beyond all expectations, I think they pretty much do.
I agree. Yeah, because Frenchie
They
has
have,
like some moments of actual understanding and learning in this episode.
yeah, and he's like, I think it's both. Like he was thinking with his dick, but also excusing that by thinking he's trying to rescue someone that
Yeah.
needs help, and why he personally feels like he is called to do that. And then at the end, just a saying a sincere apology and promising to stop.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of like I did thought it was wild that she buys this giant bossy ring and she brings it on the job. Um,
Yeah, why not?
but that
She's
that
got
says
a
something about her.
style, and
Says something about her character. Yeah, she's bossy.
I like it. We'll see where that goes. But we have another flashback here to 8 years ago, where Frenchie's caught for this bank heist that he was trying to pull in the first flashback, and he's interrogated by Grace, and she offers him a job and threatens his friends when he refuses, which immediately gets him to change his tune.
And his thing is, which I think they've established or hinted at before, but they make explicit that he does superpowered pharmaceutical bombs, like weapons grade Xanax, to take down this guy called Behemoth, who's sound like he's essentially the Credible Hulk. He gets angry, he gets superpowered, so you pump him full of Xanax, and that chills his ass out.
Yeah.
And we almost got to see him do one this episode, but it got crushed before it could go off. That's kind of cool, and I think they're establishing me that if you gave Frenchie enough time and chemistry, maybe he could come up with an anti-Homelander bomb that would have a chance of working.
Yeah, I don't
So
think this is the
that's,
last we've seen of his skills put into action.
yeah, yeah. Of course, we don't know, like, Superman doesn't even have to fucking breathe, right? If he's out in space and
Yeah.
he's got the yellow sun powering him, he doesn't need any of that shit. So it's like, I wonder what mechanism you could get Homelander. I guess you could get him to ingest something, maybe. But yeah, I'm
Maybe.
curious about how. I think this is a potential puzzle piece for how they're going to do in Homelander.
So we come back to now, where Homelander wants to surprise Stormfront with something, but she has an appointment, and she leaves, and he rearranges the flower, the surprise he got her. He's clearly like, yeah, love struck is not the right word. Enamored with this new
Infatuated.
relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see that all play out this episode in spectacular.
And it's like
fashion.
maybe it's the first time he's thought this might have permanence, like because it's a superpower person.
Yeah.
I did think it was confusing because like I was very confused about who those flowers were, whose trailer he was in. I saw the card for Homelander, and I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, this might be the first time Homelander's bought a girl flowers.
I have to imagine, yeah, that's true.
And then, he's like super fucking hyper vigilant and protective. And like when she says, I'll be gone just for 20 minutes. And then you can hear the clock ticking in the background. I knew from that first scene, like, oh, this is going to be trouble.
Yeah. So then we go back to Sage Grove, where Starlight blasts the fence and lets Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM into the grounds. Butcher contemplates firing a sniper round at Annie on her way back.
I mean, it didn't work the last time. Damn.
I know. Well, he doesn't have Huey there to. Huey's not on top of the van, like trying to grab him and ruin his shot.
Yeah, but I do think this is the last time we're going to see him. Like, I feel like there has been progress in the relationship after this episode's over.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Starlight might blast Butcher, but I don't think Butcher will blast Starlight at this point.
No, I'm just surprised that he didn't realize her value earlier. Like in his cynical Butcher way,
soups,
like
man.
Having a soup on the team would be an enormous boon.
He's got one, and she doesn't talk. He loves her.
Well, yeah,
he doesn't.
I guess so.
There's no emotional entanglements, I guess, to Frenchie. But no, he just fucking hates soups, man. He really does. Like, he's got. That's why it kind of landed before when he's talking to Grace. Like, I don't think he has any compunctions about gutting Kimiko if he has to. He just really pathologically hates the Vought and the supers that they've created.
Yeah, I feel like Kimiko is not a super powerful soup. I don't know why. Like the idea that you can run maybe a little faster than normal and jump a little higher and heal quickly.
And she's strong. I mean, yeah, but she's like
She's strong.
Wolverine. She's like Wolverine without claws going against Superman, and
Right.
that's just historically. I mean, Wolverine's willing to do it, but he usually gets all of his skin blasted off and is down to an adamantium skeleton at the end of it.
And I don't think Starlight could take on Superman either, but I think she's more likely to survive longer.
Yeah, definitely could hold him off or sting him. It seems.
Yeah.
Occupy him a little bit anyway.
Her powers have some limitations that we'll see later in this episode too. But we go inside Sage Grove where Frenchie gets on a gurney and they wheel him through the facility. Nothing much here.
I thought it was funny Kimiko insisting him being the gurney guy, even though like him and Mother's Milk are pretty good about talking themselves in and out of situations, and she can't talk, period. She will not talk, period. So it's like, maybe she should have been the one on the gurney, but she's also the super one, so
true.
Maybe you want your best weapon like on her feet and not pretending like they're disabled.
Yeah. Annie confronts Butcher about why he's being a dick to her, and she compares him to Homelander, which pisses him off. But before anything can really go down there, Stormfront shows up and distracts them all. This is scary because when I saw someone flying through, I thought A, it was Homelander, and
Right.
B, once I realized it's Stormfront, that's not really any less scary. And what's she doing here?
That could be even worse.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's a little lazy that Mother's Milk was able to successfully bluff himself into the control room with the old patient on a gurney having a stroke seizure kind of thing. Like,
Sure.
There's nothing in this room that can help a patient who's swallowing his tongue.
Yeah, and this security guy's trained for this? Like,
and he was big. He's this big jack dude. And I actually thought like at the beginning, like, oh, this is going to be interesting because they're going to try this. And he's going to be like, get fucked. Take him down to surgery or inpatient or whatever, but you're not getting in here.
Yeah.
And then Kimiko would have to rip the door off or they would have to try something different. But it just, it worked. And then the dude got taken out and there you go.
No, I agree. That was a little silly, a little cheap.
A little weak, but then they went for broke on all the super villain powers, like the acid man throwing up, the love sausage guy, which I thought was just going to be a throwaway gag.
Sure,
we'll have to talk.
It was a gag, all right.
I want to save further analysis for that for the love sausage to come back into play.
Yeah,
but they also established clearly there's this one super. It almost seemed like she was aware that they were watching them and made eye contact. I don't know if that is going to mean anything. Clearly, they are building this Cindy, I believe is the character's name, into something because they really want you to pay attention to the fact that she escaped this facility at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah.
It's like the second time we've seen, Homelander looked at a camera in that exact same way, right? As if he could hear and see through the camera.
Yeah, maybe it's just like it's tying visually this into like this is a Vought enterprise where everything is being monitored and like this is a naked lab where they're doing experiments, and Becca's home is also a stealth laboratory where they're doing experiments. Maybe that's the thing they're trying to draw.
So then the boys, like you said, kill the security guard. They find a whole bunch of soups being experimented on. They see Stormfront and Kimiko begins to lose it, and MM calms her. Stormfront's guinea pig demands to talk to her sister, and the nurse lights him on fire with his powers, which causes Frenchie to realize that he's Lamplighter. Stormfront leaves, and so do the boys. Unfortunately, Lamplighter recognizes Frenchie on the way out, and soup is released during the struggle that ensues. The soup releases the rest of the soups, and the boys are chased back into the security room as they watch all these soups just go on a killing rampage.
Yeah, you said unfortunately. Like Frenchie just straight up mad dog Lamplighter though.
I know.
That was the opposite of playing it cool, but they did enough. Like I said, they did enough that like while that behavior is bizarre and not great from a mission standpoint, I feel like that, yeah, this Frenchie's that's part of his character, is that sometimes he does shit that's off mission. He gets he gets emotional. He's not as disciplined
Yeah.
maybe as certainly Mother's Milk.
He's a passionate guy.
He
And
sure is.
when he gets angry and when something catches his attention, he goes after it. I think like they did, and I'm not even sure they had done enough in this episode yet to make that all sit right with me. But eventually, they get there by the end of this episode. So
yeah, it's wild. I would have been very frustrated if they had not cleared up so much of this stuff, because it would have just been bizarre, insane behavior on the part of Frenchie.
Yeah.
Do you think the Cindy character who squeezed a person to death, do you think that that's the person that they used to kill Rainer, the person that got their head exploded earlier?
Oh yeah.
Like the effect is very similar.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't go with the full body squeeze rather than just a head squeeze.
I don't know. Maybe her hands were duct taped and she could only get 2 fingers out.
Just a 2-finger squeeze.
I crush
pimple pop. The pimple pop technique.
Right. So Lamplighter eventually agrees to lead them out of the facility as well. And this whole thing takes place with these superpowers you're talking about.
They got all the goods. Like, they stole every hard drive out of this rack. Like, they're going to have like a treasure trove of information that they don't make a big deal about in the episode, but like I'm sure next one they'll be like reviewing and going over all the stuff that they've learned. Like, they're very close to blowing the doors off this investigation.
The vertical lids.
The vertical lids, yep.
Yeah, no, as much as like Maeve's plan involves like, oh, I've got this information, this dirt on you, I'm gonna blackmail you. Like, what are they gonna do with all this info they've got about these experiments?
It's also really interesting how Vought likes to get matchy on the 7. Like, they always have to have a fast guy, right? And we found out this episode, maybe they talked to this, but I didn't really fully realize Starlight's powers is that she can't make something from nothing. She has to have a natural source of power to draw from, and she's replacing a guy who had to have a natural source of flame. He can't just make it; he can just manipulate it. I wonder if that's like true of all. You know, like, do they need to get a new? And they didn't replace the invisibility guy with another invisibility person.
I feel like she needs to have an assistant who's like a soup that can like make electricity.
Or can they build like a lipo battery into that costume somewhere? You know, like with the breast padding, the thigh high boots, to tuck a couple cells in there. Like, there's some spaces. Yeah, I'm with Butcher. This is a shit superpower if you can be disabled by a field. If a baseball diamond is your greatest weakness, then a football field, a soccer pitch, it's pretty. You're in bad shape.
Yeah, and what is the range on that, right? Like, is it 100 yards? Is it 100 feet? You know,
seems like it's pretty damn, because they were not that far away from the hospital. Like, yeah, it's within visual range for sure.
And you know that acid, I guess, vomit is a pretty spectacular effect. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his face dissolving his own fucking face. Gah.
It tells you something about his guts, I guess. Like, his guts must just be made out of something, you know, a lot like our own guts. You know, you put our external skin through prolonged exposure to stomach acids, probably do some damage.
It reminds me of this old episode of The Simpsons where Homer is at a chili eating contest, and the Chief Wiggum, I think, has made chili with this ghost insanity pepper, and the only way to eat it is Homer takes like this candle that's on the table that's lit, and he drinks the candle wax to coat his entire mouth and esophagus, and then he's able to eat it. It's like, yeah, this guy he has to drink a candle before he uses his power, because if anything besides his esophagus touches this acid, it's going to be bad for him.
Yeah.
Weak to your own acid. But I guess that's like part of what Vaught's trying to do, is stabilize these powers. It seems like one of the deals is some of these powers are just like, are they even?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like Love Sausage, for example, who we'll be talking about pretty quick. That's not a great superpower.
I mean, he's probably been with a lot of partners who disagree.
I was going to say, there's some applications for it, but like fighting crime or terrorism, not so sure. Not so sure.
So Soup wanders out to where Butcher and Huey are, and Annie, and blasts him with a shockwave before Butcher murders him. And Huey's badly injured in that whole provocation, and Starlight can't help him because there's no power, thanks to the shockwave. And they abandon the other boys to get Huey help.
Yeah. This would have been unthinkable before last episode that Butcher would almost sobbing want to take Huey to the hospital, but it all kind of makes sense now, and he's abandoning his former team for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely the thing that I noticed most in this scene is when he notices the truck flipped over. He runs over there like, Huey, are you hurt? Are you hurt? Are you okay?
Right, yeah.
Like, he's genuinely concerned. Before last episode, he'd have been like, oh, I don't know.
I don't
Annie
know.
Would have been the one running over, and he would have been like,
for
he's
sure.
fine.
He's fine. He's just right. He's no rules, just right.
He's like a blooming onion.
Fried to golden perfection. I do wonder why they are hauling jagged scrap metal around in the back of that van. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, like if there was like a bayonet or like a big sword or something that like Butcher's hauling around, but it just looks like some kind of like thing broke loose and impaled him. Like the van got rolled, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen? But whatever, he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. I wasn't questioning it too much.
It's not that kind of show, Jim.
Yeah. Homelander impatiently waits for Stormfront to return and eventually lasers his entire trailer, or at least that's the implication here, I think. Flowers included.
Her trailer. Was it his trailer or her trailer?
I think it's... Oh, actually, that might be her trailer.
But they established this. That's what I'm saying, is these flowers don't make a hell of a lot of sense. Unless he was planning on giving them to her himself, but then why would he why would he have the card with the note on it? It's almost like he wanted her to go in and be surprised by it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's something that doesn't quite, but you could also excuse it by like, again, I don't know that this guy knows how giving flowers works or even why you do it or
yeah.
So, but yeah, he did burn. I do love the clock ticking motif that like just to sell his impatience.
And it's not even a long time, right? It's like 20 minutes or whatever, and he's already. I think she ran.
Yeah, like he's like maybe she's 40 minutes late, but sure.
Yeah, so Stormfront shows back up. He lies about the trailer and lets her know that he's aware that she lied to him about this meeting that she claimed to have. She at this point, this is where I start to question. She might be too deep in on this. Like, Homelander might be so unstable. So I don't know. He might be a lot less stable and a lot less manipulatable than she thinks.
And you know that final look, like I'm like, is she afraid? Is she concerned? Is she thinking she's in too deep? On second watch, I reinterpreted it as kind of like motherly concern.
Yeah.
With the knowledge of what's going to happen, and I think that's kind of what it is, kind of. But you know, that's also fucked up, and when you take it in totality. But it is like she's got big Madeline energy, and with the physical presence to back it up.
Yeah. Then the Deep and A-Train share a meal with some head of some guy of importance within the Church of the Collective, which turns into a truth exchange after A-Train is coerced into hearing the Deep out.
Yeah, and this guy I recognize. He was the guy that took over as the pediatrician on ER after George Clooney blew up and left.
Huh. Okay. He's got a certain like suave energy.
Yeah, no, I really liked him. I was trying to Goran Visinjic is his name. Huh. And I haven't seen him on anything since since I stopped watching ER like 20 years ago. But it's really the guy looks amazing, and he plays really well this like very charismatic professional almost business manager type cult leader, I thought.
Yeah, is he supposed to be the actual leader? Is he supposed to be like the cat Miscavige or whatever his name is of the church?
Yeah. I think he's exactly what he's supposed to be.
Okay.
Like I said, this very intense, almost CEO type church guy.
It's amazing how fast the Deep has run through the ranks here, I guess, of the church. But you would, right? If like let's assume that he's their first soup that they've been able to indoctrinate. Actually, we know that he's
It's
not. The
not.
Eagle.
But he's the first big one. Like they've
Yeah.
worked their way up the hierarchy, and now they got a former member of the Seven. But that checks out because like
Mhm.
Scientologists, celebrities are fast tracked through the system. They get preferential treatment. They don't get to
Yep.
see like some of the dirt and the dirty stuff. They're shielded from all that. Like they go to special retreats that are only for them, and the rank and file don't go. If they're there, they're like brainwashed servants or whatnot. So again, I'm not sure why the Scientology commentary.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem like it's of a piece with anything else because it's not like. I mean, our sci is. I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's a nod to the comics because Scientology did blow up a couple years ago with the Leah Remini anti-cult but I feel like that kind of like did them in. You know.
Did it? I assume they're still operating it.
Yeah, that's true because I feel like I've been aware of like 3 or 4 different times I thought Scientology was kind of done in, and then
Right.
they just kind of keep doing their thing. So, but yeah, they're I have no idea how the hell this fits in with the larger plot, except if it is some kind of like, what do we do with off the reservation soups that are no longer useful? Can we tie them into this cult kind of thing?
Yeah. And I wonder how it's all going to tie into, taking down Homelander, Maeve's plan. And will, maybe it brings Annie and A Train somehow together, like with their disdain for these types of structures or something. I don't know. There are hints around the edges of each of these characters that could, tie them together.
Yeah, and you see how effective this pitch is because it's like ultimate carrot and stick. We have all this
Yeah.
dirt on you, but we also have the way to make it go away. And revealing that they're going to give Shockwave this guy's uniform, and because it's copyright, like this stuff all is very plausible,
Hmm. And
and it feels
him
like
being in
if you
seven-figure debt was surprising.
Well, I mean, it's. I felt like A Train's always been a little bit of like commentary on athletes, and
Yeah.
that's like I've seen so many documentaries where these guys make $100 million, but they take care of their friends, they take care of their family. They got a cousin that wants to start a barbecue joint or a car wash, and then suddenly like they keep up this lifestyle, and they have no plan for what happens when they break they blow out their ACL 5 years before they were supposed to retire, and
Hmm.
or even just retiring, just the idea that like you're not going to be making $15 million a year for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
um it's all very exploitative because the NBA doesn't give a shit about you or the NFL after they're done with you. So there's a lot of that kind of, but again, that's a big plate. A lot of things are good. Scientology, sports culture,
Hmm. They're doing it all.
racism in America, ultra nationalism. So there's a big plate, a lot of issues on it.
Yeah. So then the Sage Grove boys sneak into a supply room where Frenchie admires the drugs. Lamplighter provokes Frenchie, and MM has to split them up. And we flash back to 5 years ago, where MM is announcing to his friends that he's going to get married. His friends being Frenchie, Butcher, and Grace, which he's colleagues with him at the time. Lamplighter arrives. Grace shows him a video of himself and blackmails him into reporting everything he hears in Vought Tower, especially in regards to Homelander. And Grace is pretty uneasy about this arrangement, so she sends Frenchie to monitor him.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great scene because I love like Frenchie, like MM, like Frenchie's very happy for MM, the Colonel's very happy for MM, Butcher is just very Butcher,
Yeah.
it's very good one, all right, real good one. And also MM's idea of a fun bachelor party is like, Frenchie's like, what do you think about transgender strippers versus like, I was thinking more of like a golf outing. It's,
Uh-huh.
he's MM's like me, except for it'd be board games and video games rather than golf. But
Right. And the
there's
Lamplighter,
also
when he walks in and I looked at him and I was like, God, that is a shitty costume. And then, of course, that's part of the show, right? Like they're
right.
immediately going to point out how dumb he looks, and it's
But
good.
they also they put it with like the big kind of DC Marvel swelling music when he like and slams the staff down. But they immediately like, no, this is stupid. Come
Yeah.
on, you can't look like this.
And you got to note, they gave him a fucking flame, right? Like he's got constant
Hmm.
access to fire. Why not give Starlight a battery, like you
Yeah,
said?
She needs them. Yeah. I wonder. Well, no, there's no way that they are not aware of the limits of her powers. They created her. I was
Gotta
like, I
be.
wonder if like it's like not common knowledge that she needs a source of power to generate them.
Yeah,
But
no, they gotta be.
but I don't know. Like the other thing is like when I first saw this, I'd heard about him burning the children, and I thought it confused me because when they're showing him pictures of stuff, I assumed that was the incident that they were blackmailing him with, like him accidentally burning children to death. But no, no. So I
Nope.
wonder like what dirt they did have on these supers, and how hard is it to get dirt on supers? Damn, I feel like
Seems
with
pretty
Homelander,
easy.
the way he carries around, like follow him with a camera or drone technology, satellite, you'd get a war crime on him in like 15 minutes of
Yeah,
his just daily life. But
and it keeps happening
maybe
over and over. You know.
right, right. It's a pattern. It's clear, like it should be easy to if all it takes to get a super in line is to have like incontrovertible proof of them committing some kind of horrific crime against humanity. Holy shit! Like TMZ is the kryptonite with these guys.
Yeah, it's why I don't think Maeve's plan is actually going to work out the way she wants it to. Like, you're not getting out of the 7. Homelander's not going to give a shit that you have blackmail material on him. Like,
Yeah, I got some thoughts on that when we get there.
okay.
But and then like this is also just like it tells the tale of Butcher. There's so many people to blame here, but like, Colonel, who's very smart, is worried about what this guy would do without his back's against the wall. Where
Mm.
Butcher's like, nah, fuck him, we own him. Like Butcher just is very careless and about pushing the limits and getting to the bottom line.
It's because he doesn't have
And
that canary.
doesn't care. Yeah, doesn't care. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess he kind of cares about Becca, but he probably assumes deep down she's dead. It's all
Yeah.
about his vendetta against Homelander, and it gets people hurt and killed.
Mm-hmm. All right, Annie flags down a car, but the driver won't give it up to him. He gets into a showdown with Butcher, and Annie is forced to blast him, and she is pretty distraught over probably killing the guy, but then it turns out she's not. She uses the battery in the car to cauterize Huey's wounds, and they load him in, and they take off. And, Annie spots his child seat, which, gives her momentary pause. Like, there's still something rattling around inside her that goes, oh shit, I just did a bad thing.
Yeah,
But later
I mean,
on, she professes to not give a shit.
I think she, in the moment, it's like she's realizing she's losing herself, but she still
Yeah.
has, like, when everything's said and done, she's like, God damn it, I didn't mean to kill this guy. And oh, God, he had a kid. But there's also commentary in this, like, this guy pulls a gun. Butcher's got a gun, but either one of these gentlemen could have de-escalated the situation. I would say it's probably on Butcher to do so. But instead, they kept escalating and escalating it until, one of them ended up dead. I don't think you need a lot of commentary on that.
Yeah, Butcher, like, just the way he approaches trying to commandeer this car. Like, oh, I'm the FBI. I left me ID in me other pants. Like, no,
yeah.
that's not how you do it. You just let the
He's
guy
not even
drive you. Why
trying.
wouldn't you let the guy drive you?
Yeah, because he didn't want to. They were paranoid about Starlight being recognized, I guess, is the justification for that. That he's like, hey, don't I recognize you? And like, I don't know. Guy's in the wrong place, the wrong time.
It's true. Out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, Frenchie MacGyver's a knockout bomb for Soups out of the chemicals in the storage room. Frenchie asks why the 7 left them alive after what happened 5 years ago. And it's because Lamplighter never told the 7 about the stuff that they did. Lamplighter claims that he actually didn't know that there were going to be kids there when he torched them in this incident that we're getting to.
Yeah, he meant the roast the Colonel, and it turns out she was having a sleepover with her grandkids, but she was gone. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I was when he was describing this, I'm like, this is a very sad scene, but I was actually literally trying to decide how the hell could it have happened. Like they're sleeping in grandma's bed, but she's not there, and neither's grandpa. Where the hell was she?
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. Kids got roasted, screaming, very sad, very distraught.
She went out for a fresca, came back, roasted kids.
For a fresca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not enough fresca in the world to put those flames out.
Fresca and an almond joy. She just went down to the corner store.
Serves her right.
Lamplighter claims that, or he wants to know why Frenchie didn't stop him. So does MM, frankly. And then we flash back to
Yeah.
Frenchie abandoning his mission to follow Lamplighter when Sherry calls him and says that his friend is ODing. He goes and he saves the guy, but he has to make this tough decision about leaving in order to get back to his mission, which, his friends are disappointed with the decision he makes, which is to go back on mission.
Yeah, he just shoots him full of narcon and scoots, essentially.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
He
it makes me wonder if Lamplighter was waiting for him to break, because he was aware of being followed. And the second that he broke off, he's like, oh boy, here's me killing again.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you think he could maybe tell Sherry how to administer some of that narcon stuff, but
you saw how Pulp Fiction goes. You can't trust people to just have a firm stabbing motion on the,
They get it right. They just read like a pamphlet and do it. It works.
Sure. I do think it's also something about like the nature of his powers. Like, can you imagine, like, that's got to be, I've always thought this about people with flame powers. How can that possibly be good? Like, you can't subdue people with flames. You can light them on fire and they die screaming. Like, that's got to be, imagine if your superpower is just excruciating people to death. Like, that's all, you essentially could just electrocute them. Like, that's not a good superpower. Having super strength where you can, like, treat them like you can treat grown men like toddlers and just physically separate them and you're invulnerable. Like, that's a power that you could do inherent good with. Flames? What the fuck can a flame do? Purify, purge. That's the best of it. You're still killing. You're still the people dying screaming.
Mm-hmm. What about the threat of flames? Like, if they know you can use flames and you threaten them, then maybe some good could come of that. You never actually use your power, but they know you got it.
Then as soon as someone calls your bluff, it's you're back to the dying screaming.
Yeah,
that's what I loved about Dr. Manhattan, or like this Cherry, Cindy superhero is like the full body explosion. It looks grotesque, but it is like it's a pretty instant painless death, and it just like deatomization. Like, why dress it up? Why you with those funny like Stormzy electrocuting people? Pyro guy is burning them alive. I'm just gonna full body explosion. They just cease to exist. Boom.
Are you saying that all these soups are really just like their generic superpower is murder?
Yeah, and it's like which vicious type of murder do you want to specialize in?
Yeah.
Like
Fair.
There's not their superpower is super murder.
Yep. All right. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're
fucks
not
you
wrong.
up, man. Can't be normal.
So with Huey passed out, Butcher tries to comfort Annie over killing that guy, but Annie's not fazed by it. She doesn't want his consolation, nor does she want his admiration or approval. She's kind of disgusted by the fact that she's winning Butcher over with her apathy toward killing.
And this is a stock scene that they again subvert the tough guy, the innocent normal being corrupted by the rough and ready, the only thing that lets people sleep at night is rough and ready men and women ready to dispense justice, like her rejecting that too. Like, nah, I see you trying to give me that like manly nod of masculine approval, and fuck you and fuck all that. Because also, if you hadn't have been the way you are, none of this would have happened. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to argue with that, because that's something that even Becca said. Like, this is just who you are. You can't just back off and play it cool.
Yeah. All right, Frenchie finishes this knockout bomb. Lamplighter explains that Vought is trying to stabilize Compound V to work on people who aren't babies, adults, essentially. He doesn't know why they're doing it, though. Frenchie explains he didn't stop Lamplighter because he had to leave to help his friend who was ODing, and that friend only lived for another few months and then died of an OD anyway. A tentacle comes in through the window, which immediately I'm like, okay, well, the boys isn't going to use a tentacle unless it's some perverse kind of tentacle. And once you see the head of this tentacle, I think everybody knew what was up. Turns out
I did not. I did not realize. I'm just like, oh wow, a tentacle comes and grabs MM, and it wasn't until like I heard Kimiko knock a guy out, and then it's slowly like retracted. I'm like, oh god, that's a super dick.
It is. Yeah, it turns out MM's grabbed by a super dick. They make their way out, but they run into Cindy the Soup, who diffuses their grenade, which I'm not sure how that works. We'll maybe talk about it. Stormfront shows up calling for Lamplighter, and he reveals himself and explains what happened, leading her away from the rest of the boys. How does stomping on a canister full of gas that is meant to knock you out and rupturing that canister prevent the bomb from working?
The only thing I can think of is it required some kind of like charge or something to mix, and by crushing it, the chemistry didn't work right. But I had the same kind of like, crushing a bomb disables it. I mean, it would, like if it's C4, right? Because C4 is like inert unless it's hit by a very particular type, type of electricity or whatnot. Like you can like squeeze and pound and whatever C4 unless it gets yeah, like you could definitely do that, but like yeah, something homemade chemically, gas? Knockout.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't
should have
get
just
it either.
flicked it down the hallway. Like use her manipulation powers to kick it away.
She
from
can
her.
only crush, never throw.
So I mean the idea here of what they're trying to do at Sage Grove of making Compound V stable enough to inject into adults is that just to increase the number of soups they can have, you know, the millions that Stormfront is going to talk about at the end of this episode? Or is this like a personal thing that maybe Stan Edgar is doing because he wants superpowers? Or
I don't know what they're playing at. I do not know what they're playing at. I don't know what Stan Edgar is like, because you see this all the time. They played with this on what was that movie, or the David Simon production about the 1930s and 40s America? No, it's about the Plot Against America, right?
America. Yep.
This kind of like minority who somehow thinks that they can gain the favor of the majority and maintain in their, you know, like the American Jew that wants to talk real about allying with Hitler because, you know, it's like that kind of thing. Like, is Stan Edgar a guy who thinks that a person like Stormfront will ever accept him as an equal as long as he goes along with their evil ideology?
Right. Like that's my number one question is why? And it makes me, you know, it leads to other questions as in like, you know, okay, maybe that's Vought's mission from the start, but is that still Vought's mission as a company? Are they still on this race war thing, or are they, you know, have they gotten past that, and maybe Stormfront is just the only one still holding that candle lit?
She wants to get the family business back to its original roots, but it's just hard to tell because, like, you know, it's real life is littered with these examples. For example, the guy who ran Hitler's brown shirts division was openly gay and somehow thought that was going to save him, and then he found that wrong in the Night of the Long Knives, the first purge. He was up against the wall getting shot. So it's like,
yeah, of course.
It happens. Like they think that you know, they think that they're going to be the exception, and then once the power's consolidated, no longer have a useful role to play. Well, there's a straight white Aryan person who can serve this role, Stan Edgar. We don't need you anymore. So
does Stan think he's just a bunch of different. He's smart enough to avoid that fate, or does he?
I don't know, because there's a lot of theories about why that is. Like, there's some kind of like self-hatred there. It's like if you're a gay person, you're like, I'm gay and that's not fine, but these other gay people who are acting this certain way or doing this thing that upsets me, they're the problem. And if we could just control, whereas they don't understand that no, everyone else just really hates gay people, or like Jews or any kind of like minority that you can kind of lasso around and put a label on and stitch a symbol on their sleeve. Like that's there's always
outsiders.
Yeah. Like the character of Steven, wasn't that the Samuel L. Jackson character in Django? You know, Candy's right hand. Like, there's always a person that is willing to support the system, even though it's not in their self-interest for some crazy psychological reason.
Stan Edgar, the ultimate Uncle Tom. Is that what you're saying?
Like, yeah, or is he gonna peel his skin off and it's like Darth Vader? You know, this proud black spaceman takes his armor off and it's just an old sad white guy at the middle. Like
my God.
I don't know.
His superpower all along has been to change the color of his skin. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's the chameleon.
Sure.
I don't know. There's like what there's different ways they could go with that.
The chameleon is Australian slang for something terrible. Also.
Oh yeah, don't even want to look it up
No.
on the Australian Urban Dictionary, which is called just the Australian Dictionary.
Okay, they get Huey to the hospital, but he needs a couple of days of recovery. Annie and Butcher talk about the things they love about Huey, some of them which are pretty embarrassing. Like him using kid shampoo and Axe body spray and butt rash cream. Pretty good scene here. I liked it.
Well, it was embarrassing. Okay, like kid shampoo with Axe. Okay.
Yeah.
Putting butt cream on if you got butt acne? What's wrong with that?
I'm with you. There's no shame in butt rash cream. I think it's a combination. Just like this is clearly a very childish man, if you can call him
mixed
that.
in with like 65-year-old man habits too. Like, you know, you can see your grandpa putting on butt cream, but plus the conflicting sins. I'm thinking like you mix kid shampoo and an Axe body spray and like Ben Gay or something like that. That's not, what the hell is that? That is, I don't know. That's nothing good. That's not natural.
That's Huey by Calvin Klein.
It's Huey's natural musk.
So then Maeve's in the shower, and Elena accidentally snoops her way into viewing this video of Homelander lasering the plane, and she is traumatized by Maeve's involvement.
Yeah, I mean,
for good reason. And you can see like Maeve trying to talk through this, right, and realizing that everything she's saying just sounds worse every time she says something. It's like, oh no, I can see how to someone who wasn't in the situation, it doesn't rationalize it the way I do. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a person who has like an inch at a time towards hell and has rationalized it the whole way, looking back at a person 5 miles back on the road and being like, it all makes sense if you live through it. Like, no, you just it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, so is that the end of their relationship, you think? Or because we don't really see any more this episode.
It better be something transformational. Like, I don't know if it has to be the end, because I think you can get past that, but like Maeve's going to have a lot of work to do because, you know, the way that Maeve told the story to Elena, right? Maeve was very much the victim, but she left off all the victims that she has created herself through her own, like, you know, compliance, not standing up to Homelander.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, again, you be the person that tells Homelander to go fuck off. But it is just got to be chilling for Elena.
Yeah, and I it's sad too, because in a way they're getting to some kind of new normal in their relationship, right? Like I don't think they're living together necessarily, but there's like this comfort and this ease with her in the shower, and Elena's just hanging out, and
seem like they might be living, like they might have moved in with each other though.
Maybe. But there's always like this
open now, right?
other shoe that I'm waiting to drop, for Homelander to drop. But in the meantime, there was some semblance of normalcy here, and I was starting to enjoy it during the scene.
Irrelevant detail. Was she trying to postmate something called sugarfish? What is sugarfish?
I don't know.
Like, I assume that they're talking Swedish fish. And I'm like, man, that's a frivolous thing. But like, also, why wouldn't you just call it Swedish fish? Like, you're suddenly shy about shitty candy brand names now. Couldn't get the license for Swedish fish.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I didn't bother.
If you know what sugarfish is, please send it in to dhs@baldmove.com, because I have no fucking clue.
It's probably Australian and it's probably dirty. Okay. Let's move on to MM getting word that Huey's okay. Frenchie apologizing to Kimiko for trying to save her, essentially to absolve himself of his own guilt. And he says that he'll leave her alone now. And then Grace rolls up and they show her lamplighter. She pulls her gun out to try and kill him. But Frenchie, I don't know. She clearly doesn't want to shoot him. She feels like she needs to shoot him for some sort of justice. Frenchie's able to talk her out of killing him, proposing that they use him instead.
Yeah. I realized this whole episode I've been trying to think who the fuck, where I've seen Lamplighter before. and I finally looked it up. His name's Sean Ashmore, and he played, ironically, Iceman in like the first 3 X-Men movies. The ones that Anna Paquin as Rogue.
Yes, he did. Okay.
Yeah, he's all grown up and now he's playing a fireman. Isn't that wild?
Playing against type, huh?
He is playing against type. I love Frenchie's apology to Kimiko because it's a great one. It's not. It's like this is what I did. This is why it was wrong and why I could have hurt you, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And also like when he's like, I'll leave you alone now. Like she gave a pretty complex performance. That's like maybe that's not what she wants at this point. Maybe she's ready to pursue things with Frenchie.
Yeah, but him leaving it in that place is really good because it's now up to her, right? Like
it's the ball's back in her court.
Yeah,
and she can play it at her own pace. Mm-hmm. Also, Frenchie just like yelled in the background, "Tell him about the thick penis around your neck!" Like this is so funny.
It's like nothing. It's just Frenchie talking shit.
Yeah, it's just Frenchie. You know how he is.
Yeah, I picture Butcher on the other end going, "Thick penis. What's it about?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do with Lamplighter now?
That's a good question.
Him? I guess a man on the inside of this forest grove or whatever is a sage grove is not a bad thing.
That and another soup on the team.
Plus, I was really surprised to see that he was able to successfully fool Stormfront. Into like, oh no, it's just we got our meds mixed up and some of the inmates were able to escape, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess at this point you recreate the mission from 5 years ago, right? And have Lamplighter report everything he can from Stormfront. Since they're chummy.
Because I imagine he doesn't have access to the 7 anymore. He's probably like the Deep in that way. But like, yeah, he's got real good access to the Sage Grove business.
Yeah.
But then again, they got so much. They got all the hard drives and shit. Like,
yeah, but I mean, keeping them, up to date
you're right.
On what Stormfront's doing, I think
it's a going concern. I wonder if there'll also be a scene where like they realize that they've been compromised and they tell Lamplighter to just burn it all down, and that gives them an opportunity to maybe turn a couple super. you get love sausage on your side.
Oh God.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's another one. Because I feel like that's what Vought would do. It's like, oh my God, these people came in, stole all of our shit. They got all this data on us. Let's just fucking liquidate this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Stormfront tries to apologize to Homelander by promising never to lie to him again, and showing him pictures that prove that she's Liberty and that she doesn't age. She declares that everything Vought has done since the creation of Compound V has been part of a race war, and Homelander is the culmination of their dreams. And that works on Homelander. He's turned on by that, and he kisses her.
That's exactly what he wants. Like, this is like his metaphorical mother saying that you are the true legacy of everything I fought for. I'm so proud of you. I love you completely. And he also can have sex with her. Mm-hmm. And he can't hurt her, or at least like accidentally as easily as other people. Like, this is like literally his perfect... Yeah,
and I mean, I've talked about a lot of the implications here already, about this race war that's going on and how that recasts sort of the Shining Light Liberation Army as, some counter, they already were sort of some resistance underground cell sort of thing, but now even more so, now that I know it's a race war. And it kind of explains why maybe they were experimenting on Kimiko and her brother. Like, they're probably not going to give superpowers to a bunch of white dudes, right?
What do you think? Because like the other thing, they've let the Ryan situation go for a couple episodes. Do you think that Homelander's just gotten bored with him? Because I imagine that this is something a Stormfront might instigate, like, that you gotta, we got to get this kid on our side, or we got to raise him right, or something. I don't know how they're going to get back to that story plot, because it feels almost like abandoned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a situation where Homelander decides that he and Stormfront are going to be Ryan's new parents. Like, Becca's out of the picture now.
The thing that ties them together is she said essentially exactly his pitch to Ryan, like that, hey, none of us have to be alone ever again now. Mm-hmm. Which is like, that was like what Homelander was trying to do with Ryan. It's wild, and then the Golden Girls theme playing over it was just the icing on the cake for sure.
Did you stick around long enough to hear the A Train anthem after the Golden Girls?
No, I didn't. When
Yeah,
did that start up?
they play that whole thing out, and it's bad. It's like the most soulless, lifeless rap pop
Did they get
mashup that you
Little
can
Nas
think of.
X to do it, or is it still the like schlubby guy?
It
His
sounded like it was a
vocals.
schlubby guy, and maybe
Yeah,
Starlight singing the sung
interesting.
part of
So this
the
is over
track,
the
but
credits.
I don't know.
Was this over the credit scene, or is it actually
Yeah,
transitioning? Okay, yeah, yeah. I didn't pay attention to that, unfortunately.
yeah. No,
But they also established
ridiculous.
a Cindy character hitchhiking.
Uh-huh.
Wonder what's going to go on with that.
I don't know.
I mean, it's like seems powerful if you need someone to be exploded from visual range, but it's not something that's going to like be the thing for Homelander, right? Like what are they doing? There doesn't seem there's any shortage of super terrorists. Like what is the whole point of this? Other than to establish Vought's plan to have a race of or a whole legion of super soldiers for the race war to come that they're engineering.
Yeah, and how, stable or unstable is she? Is she gonna last out there? What's her mental state? So many questions about it.
Yeah, I looked into because I thought I recognized her from thought I recognized this actor from Orange is the New Black, but it turns out not that they've done a lot of stunt work, and in fact, they're credited with a bunch of stunts on the season 1 of the Boys, and they also do a bunch of art exhibitions, like really high end, like weird gothic performance art, like dancing, but you're in a vacuum bed. It's like I said, bizarre stuff. Their name is oh shit, I forgot. I didn't write down her name. It's
Oops.
like Edgar Mosier or something really Scandinavian sounding.
Okay.
But
That's it.
look forward to seeing what they do in the future.
Same here.
And that will be it for this week's episode of the Department of Homelander Security. Of course, we'll be back next week at the same time that The Boys drops on Amazon Prime. Our episode drops. So we're ready to go with our full recap and thoughts and feedback whenever you are. Until then, my name's Aaron.
And I'm Jim.
See you then.